So I watched your movie the other day.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. No, no. Wow. It's about all I can say.
Oh, that's awesome.
We've only got 10 minutes, so I really can't go into how much I liked the movie, but the overall production of the film and the incredible performances you got from everybody
Oh,
was just top notch. Like,
that's awesome to hear. Thank you.
I watch a lot of movies every year, and this is definitely in my top five.
Oh, wow. Now
Yeah.
you gotta tell everybody that. Please go spread
Yep.
word. Spread the
Yep.
word, man. This is 5 years of my life and my blood and my sweat and my tears and competing with TIFF for exposure. So any help is always appreciated.
It took 5 years to make the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I read the script in 2017. So
Wow.
here we are.
Wow. Well, I mean, everything like you could almost call him like a gentleman bandit because he was just so
I think
he was
someone did
just
call him that. I think someone did call him that. We pitched it as if James Bond was robbing banks. That's kind of how we always pitched
yeah, he was cool and sophisticated and yeah. No, I really liked that whole demeanor to the film. Like he was just so yeah, and your lead actor, he's just I don't know, he exudes that charisma that you kind of need for that kind of role, and he just he just seemed to live it. Like
it.
he just
Yeah,
seemed to really
he's
get into it.
phenomenal. He's phenomenal in this film. He did such a he embodied everything it was that I was hoping for it.
Well, and I mean, how did you manage to get Mel Gibson on the
Um,
on the movie rather?
so Mel has this sort of uncanny resemblance to the real life Tommy guy that he plays.
Oh,
And I was like, oh my God, we got to get Mel. And so we got the script to him. Josh was involved, Elisha was involved, Nestor was involved. So it was already a really good cast. And I think Mel was taken by the real sort of true crime elements to the story and knowing that there was some source material he could dig into. So he had watched some of the short documentaries from CBC, got a hold of the book, and he really enjoyed, I think, and obviously it's a spoiler, but I think he enjoyed the fact that we subverted the sort of trope and the expectation that he'd be a villain or a bad guy at the end
mm-hmm.
or some kind of double cross that we see in all these movies. I think he enjoyed the fact that he could sort of just be like Uncle Mel, you know.
Well, and yeah, I was kind of expecting that near the end when he just unannounced shows up at his house, and it's like, what are you doing here? And I thought
Yeah,
sure he was gonna have some of his heavies with him, and they were gonna, you know, what are you doing walking away from us, you know, sort of thing. But he
yeah, and
just
I figure some people probably expect that, but at the end of the day, he was a mentor to Gilbert, and they were, you know, they had a bond that they were very inseparable for a while. So it's nice to not have to fall into a lot of those cliches that you would normally have to see in a film like this, and sort of just let it take a different course.
yeah, because I don't know, and the editing, like a lot of people don't notice editing, but I do. I took an editing course, and
Oh, okay.
some of the edits that you have in this film are just so slick and like they roll like butter, like
Oh, that's awesome.
and hot knife through butter. You know, they just the transition is just so smooth.
Oh, that's great to hear. I work with an editor, Mike Lane, who did my last film, my Netflix movie, and we kind of would take sequences and sort of trade back and forth because I edit a lot of my own stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's always good to be able to have a fresh pair of eyes after you're doing a sequence. And then, so I would do my bit, like I would do like the montages, for instance, send it to him. He would do a dramatic scene, send it to me, and then I would revise. He would sort of tweak, and then we kind of keep going back and forth like that.
That's a really different way of doing it.
Yeah,
Because
man,
normally it's
it's
just
my way, so I like it. It's different.
no, it definitely yeah, because then you can get that instant feedback, right? You can get that feedback.
Yeah, it's constructive. It's good. It works.
Yeah. Was there any difficulties with any of the sets? Like,
Well,
because you were on location. Um, were you just filming outside of banks, or did they actually let you film in the banks, or was
no,
that?
we went into a lot of old banks that had been sort of run down and not operational anymore.
Oh,
Obviously,
okay.
going into a real bank and doing this is not that you
You
get
never
a thumbs
know.
up from management. Not no bueno. So, well, first we were shooting in Georgia, so that was immensely difficult to try to recreate Canada and Georgia. And then we had about 95 sets and locations across 200 scenes, but we only had 21 days to do it. So it would become this scramble with the art and locations team and myself being coordinated and saying, okay, here's a room, 4 walls. This wall is going to be TD Bank. This wall is going to be CIBC. And obviously, we didn't end up getting clearance to use the actual bank brands because of the nefarious sort of light that we're shining on it. So we had to kind of create our own off-brand versions of those banks. And so, yeah, it was just, then we found this great studio space in Southern Georgia that ended up playing, I think, 9 different sets inside this building. And, you'd be in Robert's hotel room at the beginning of the film, then you'd walk outside and you'd be in the police station in the hallway down the hall. So it was a lot of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It just, I really can't praise the film enough. I hope it does really well for you at the box office.
Thank you.
It's hard to get press, media, it's hard to get, well, really, it's hard to get the general public behind Canadian film, I have found.
Yeah, it can
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, that was the hope with this film, is I think because it's so commercially viable, it doesn't feel like every Canadian story you've seen or heard. It's popcorn, right? It's fun.
Yeah.
So obviously, we've been fortunate. I think as TIFF is sort of finishing now, a lot of the interest has been coming through. I've done a great array of interviews, some of the TV shows, and the lovely ladies at Tarot have been killing it. So I have a good feeling that I think people will hear about the movie and it'll kind of continue to spread a little bit. I think maybe at first not everyone will know about it. And then hopefully, if people feel the way that you feel and some of the other people I've talked to today about the film, word of mouth will be valuable.
Yeah, because if you look back in the mid 80s, they did the Gray Fox. He was the notorious train robber, Canadian history.
Yeah.
So I think you've done this justice in the same sort of way.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Because you're not trying to make it look like he's any kind of superhero.
No.
And that was the weird twist too, was his devotion and his love for his wife, and how when she found out exactly what he was doing, he's like, okay, I'll pack my stuff and I'll leave. And I realize I've disappointed you, but then a swerve comes there too, and it's just like, yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun twist to sort of take the sort of composite of the the housewife that we've seen in so many movies, and say, how do we make her stronger? How do we make her smarter? And then thankfully we found out that in real life, this sort of did happen a little differently, but it was nice to let her participate and be active in that journey, so that she's not just sort of an idle, bystander.
But I like one last thing. I like how in 2 of the scenes you freeze the frame and you go, yes, that did happen, when he drops the gun, and then the other part when he's being interrogated and he orders the pizza. Yes, that also did happen. I just thought that was a tongue-in-cheek kind of way to present it to the audience, and just like,
well, there's 3 moments in the movie that are so absurd that, because truth is stranger than fiction. And so these 3 moments, the health card, the gun, and the pizza, they just don't seem feasible. And you don't want to take the audience out and be like, oh, the filmmakers were sloppy. Could they not figure out a better way for the gun to get left behind? When in fact, these things did actually happen.
Well, and consider who he was with, and he's never brought a gun to any of his prior robberies, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
and that was ultimately what got him caught.
Yeah. Well, and it was all foreign to him, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, I thank you very much for your time today.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And thank you, Brianna. Oh,
My pleasure. Thanks, Anthony.
have yourselves a good rest of the day.
You too. Have a great week.
You too. Thank you. I'll be pushing your movie.
That's great. Thank you.